I wish to say that I am nominating Cayenne Rochelle.
These people are beautiful, strong, confident, and captivating, aren't they? But there's a truth about them that you're probably unaware of. They were born with a gender completely different from what you're seeing now. That's right, these stars are transgender. They have lived through years of torment and pain, from long nights of homelessness, facing stigma, violence, and even rejection from their own families. Their stories, ones you may never have known if we hadn't shared them, will leave you stunned. So get ready, because the shocks in this video will blow your mind as you learn what they had to endure just to live authentically as themselves. 1. Miss Major Griffin-Gracy, From Hell in Prison to the Global Uprising. Born in the 1940s in Chicago, Miss Major Griffin-Gracy reached the height of history as an uncompromising activist. She was a witness and an active participant in the 1969 Stonewall riots, an event that shook the foundation of American society and marked the beginning of the LGBTQ+ rights movement. But behind that spotlight was a life surrounded by stigma, imprisonment, and prolonged battles against an unjust system. Imagine a woman of color in the 1960s embarking on a journey to transition when the whole world turned its back. That was Miss Major, a young person daring to break all the prejudices and live true to herself. Society back then was unforgiving. She faced ridicule, isolation, and even violence. Even more frightening, she was imprisoned in a system where transgender women weren't just stigmatized but became brutal targets of abuse. It was in the infamous Attica prison where she witnessed the inhumane injustices against people like her, a pain etched into her mind. But Miss Major's life wasn't just full of suffering. After the fateful Stonewall night, she rose, despite all her wounds, to become a voice for the unheard. As the executive director of the TGI Justice Project, she helped thousands of transgender women of color reclaim their lives after prison. What's special is that she didn't just offer help from afar, but personally visited prisons, bringing clothes, food, and even a warm embrace to welcome them. Miss Major wasn't just a transgender woman, she was a warrior. Every scar on her body, every time she was incarcerated, and every tear became fuel for her relentless fight. Her life is a tragic yet inspiring story, a reminder that injustice will never win as long as people like her stand up. 2. Dominique Jackson, From Homelessness to Ballroom Queen. Born in 1975 in Tobago, Dominique Jackson is an unforgettable name in the LGBTQ+ community. From a lost young girl in a town full of stigma, she became a global icon through her role as Electra Abundance in the hit show Pose. But behind the glittering spotlight lies a journey filled with pain, tears, and extraordinary resilience. Dominique's childhood was a series of harsh stigmas. When she publicly came out in the early 1990s, her family disowned her and the community pushed her away. With nowhere to turn, she was forced to leave Tobago for the US with nothing but a broken heart. It seemed like life might change in a new land, but Dominique fell into the deep pit of homelessness, spending cold nights on park benches. To survive, she dove into the world of ballroom, where the glamorous stage became her only platform to live authentically. In the colorful world of ballroom, Dominique stood out not just for her regal appearance, but for her strength as a warrior goddess. But to remain standing on that stage, she had to endure much bitterness. The greatest pain was when she faced stigma even at shelters for transgender people. Once, after being kicked out of her refuge, a ballroom friend whispered to her, "Turn your wounds into strength. If the world won't accept you, build your own." And she did. Her portrayal of Electra Abundance in Pose didn't just showcase Dominique's stunning beauty, but also authentically reflected her life and death struggles with ballroom. With a powerful voice and an inspiring life story, Dominique not only shined on screen but in campaigns raising awareness of LGBTQ+ rights. She became the voice for the voiceless, a symbol of resilience overcoming adversity to claim her identity. Today, as Dominique walks in the spotlight, she never forgets to remind the world that her journey began in the darkest of places. And she triumphed. 3. Angelica Ross, From Being Disowned to Broadway Icon. Born in 1980 in Wisconsin, Angelica Ross was once a lost young girl, rejected by her family for daring to live authentically. But from the ashes of pain and stigma, she rose to become the first transgender woman to play a leading role on Broadway, turning the stage into a place to assert her worth and the value of her community. Angelica's transition began in the early 2000s, when she was still in her 20s. This truth caused her family to turn their backs, leaving her isolated and homeless. Forced out of her home, Angelica had to survive by doing temporary jobs like serving and modeling, struggling day by day. The lonely nights in her empty room brought her to the brink of giving up. But instead of crumbling, she chose to confront it, using her pain as motivation. Refusing to let societal prejudices bury her dreams, Angelica self-taught programming, opening up a new opportunity. In 2014, she founded Trans Tech Social Enterprises, an organization helping transgender people find career opportunities in the tech industry. But that wasn't all. Angelica made the world take notice when she entered the entertainment world. With breakthrough roles in Pose and American Horror Story, she shattered all the limitations placed on transgender actors, moving from being looked down upon to being recognized as a true talent. The most shocking moment in her career came in 2022 when Angelica Ross made history on the Broadway stage with her role as Roxy Hart in Chicago. On her first night, the audience stood up, applauding thunderously, welcoming her, a woman once abandoned, now a shining star. She didn't just win for herself, but for the entire LGBTQ+ community, proving that nothing is impossible. Angelica Ross turned her life story into a powerful inspiration. Someone once pushed to the bottom by society now stands at the top of glory, radiant and proud. 4. Peppermint, escaping the shadow of stigma to rock Broadway. Born in 1980 in Pennsylvania, Peppermint was once a nameless, lost soul in a world full of prejudice. But from those years of isolation and degradation, she broke free to become the first openly transgender contestant on RuPaul's Drag Race, and later made history with a leading role on Broadway in Head Over Heels. Peppermint's transition began in the early 2000s when society still viewed transgender people with deep disdain. As a young girl, she faced mockery and contempt. The years of performing in small bars were not only a way to survive, but also a place where she sought acceptance from the community around her. Peppermint shared that every time she stepped on stage, she wasn't just performing, she was battling the ridicule and cruel words stabbing her heart. But it was in that darkness that she found the light of courage and perseverance. In 2017, Peppermint joined RuPaul's Drag Race and publicly came out as transgender. It was a bold yet risky decision. For the first time in the show's history, a contestant dared to break the old boundaries. From being a drag queen who was underestimated, Peppermint stunned everyone with her talent and powerful story, becoming a symbol of breaking all prejudices. The peak of her career came with her leading role in Head Over Heels in 2018. This wasn't just a milestone for Peppermint, but also a major victory for the LGBTQ+ community. On the Broadway stage, she used all her suffering and fears to turn her character into a living symbol of truth and resilience. Peppermint wasn't just an artist, she was a warrior. Her story is like a slap in the face of all prejudices, proving that nothing is impossible for those who dare to dream and fight. 5. Laverne Cox, the child rejected by her own mother, who freed herself through art. Born in Mobile, Alabama, a place where conservatism is deeply ingrained, Laverne Cox went from being a relentlessly bullied child to a global icon. As the first transgender woman to be nominated for an Emmy for her role as Sophia Bursett in Orange is the New Black, Laverne not only conquered Hollywood but also shattered the stereotypes imposed on the transgender community. Laverne's journey to transition began in the late 1990s while attending college in Birmingham, Alabama. It wasn't an easy decision. She grew up surrounded by contemptuous looks, sarcastic comments, and violent beatings. From a young age, Laverne was constantly mocked by her peers, but what hurt even more was the rejection from her own family. The mothers she loved most refused to accept her gender identity, fearing the societal judgment. But Laverne did not give up. She turned to dance as a way to express herself and escape from her harsh reality. Art became the place where she began to rebuild her life. After years of battling prejudice and emotional scars, Laverne made her way to New York, determined to chase her dreams. Her role as Sophia Bursett in Orange is the New Black changed everything. Laverne didn't just astonish global audiences with her acting talent, but she also became a powerful voice for the transgender community. Her appearances on the covers of Time, Cosmopolitan, and numerous other major platforms challenged societal norms, bringing the image of transgender people into the light and demanding respect and equality. A pivotal moment in Laverne's life was when her mother publicly stated that she was proud of her after years of denying her child. This wasn't just healing for Laverne, but also a strong message about the power of love and acceptance. From an abandoned girl, Laverne rose to the top, turning pain into the fiery strength of resilience. She didn't just change her life, she inspired millions of people around the world. 6. T.S. Madison, from internet phenomenon to reality TV star shaking up the entertainment industry. Born in 1977 in Miami, Florida, T.S. Madison transitioned from an ostracized transgender woman to a groundbreaking reality TV star. With the T.S. Madison experience, she became the first Black transgender woman to have her own television show, taking her voice and that of her community to new heights. But not everyone knows that behind the spotlight was a tremendous amount of suffering. T.S. Madison began her journey to live as her true gender in the late 1990s, amidst cold stares and deep prejudice. As a Black transgender woman, she faced not only societal discrimination but also prejudices within the LGBTQ+ community. Her early years were full of hardship, struggling financially and fighting to gain recognition. The turning point came in the early 2010s when Madison released the viral video New Weave 22 Inches, a social media sensation. But don't let the humor in the video fool you. It wasn't just an entertaining clip, it was a bold declaration of self-acceptance. The video quickly made her a phenomenon, opening doors to the entertainment industry. But Madison didn't stop there. She transitioned from social media to television with the T.S. Madison Experience, which premiered in 2021. This was a landmark moment, not only because Madison was at the center of the show, but also because she broke barriers, setting a precedent for Black transgender women in media. She used her platform to advocate for equality and opportunity, challenging all preconceived notions. No one could have predicted that Madison had once been turned down for a job simply because she was transgender. But now, she's flipped the script. Madison leads a team of over 50 staff members, most of whom belong to the LGBTQ+ community. From being cast aside, she built her own empire, proving that background and gender identity are not barriers to success. T.S. Madison is a living testament to turning pain into strength. She not only inspires, but also paves the way for a generation, rewriting history for Black transgender women in entertainment. 7. Janet Mock, Blood, Tears, and the Journey to Becoming the Queen of Hollywood. Born in Hawaii, Janet Mock is not only a talented writer and director, but also a symbol of resilience and relentless struggle. She broke through every barrier to become the first transgender woman to work behind the camera on major shows like Pose. Janet is not just an artist, she is a powerful voice for the transgender community through her groundbreaking memoir Redefining Realness, 2014. But Janet's life has not been all glitz and glamour. In the early 1990s, while still in high school, she began her difficult journey of transitioning. Growing up in a poor family, Janet realized her gender identity at a very young age. But that realization marked the beginning of a painful and challenging journey. Without the financial means to get support, Janet resorted to sex work to fund her gender-affirming surgery. This path was not only harsh, but pushed her to the brink of emotional and physical trauma. Inspired by Janet Jackson, whom she saw as a symbol of strength and independence, Janet saved up every penny to undergo surgery in Thailand at the age of 18. This wasn't just a life-changing decision, but a bold statement about freedom and the right to live authentically. But behind the physical pain of the transformation were immeasurable emotional scars, the harsh judgmental looks, the derogatory comments, and the constant fears that haunted her during her early years. Overcoming all the suffering, Janet entered the world of art and began telling her own stories. Redefining Realness not only chronicled her arduous journey but also helped millions understand the harsh realities faced by the transgender community. Janet continued to cement her legacy by producing and directing Pose, becoming a leading figure for transgender artists in Hollywood. Today, Janet is a living symbol of resilience. From a girl who was once crushed by life's challenges, she has risen to define the meaning of success. Janet Mock's life may not be a fairy tale, but she has become a legend through her own strength. 8. Brian Michael Smith, the first black transgender man to break all TV stereotypes. Born in 1983 in Michigan, Brian Michael Smith is not only an exceptional actor but also a trailblazer who has changed the narrative around black transgender men in the entertainment industry. With standout roles in Queen Sugar and 911, Lone Star, Brian made history by becoming the first black transgender man to land a leading role on television. But his journey to success was fraught with unimaginable challenges. As a child, Brian was an outstanding athlete, always excelling in sports. But behind the medals and smiles, he felt alienated in his own body. In his early 20s, Brian realized his true gender identity. This was a turbulent time, as society still held deep prejudices against transgender people, especially black men. Brian began his transition with an unshakable resolve. But his early steps weren't easy. As he ventured into acting, he realized there was little room for someone like him. Transgender roles were often distorted, existing only to create tragic or cheap comedic moments. But Brian didn't let these biases dim his ambition. With his role in Queen Sugar, Brian not only shattered old stereotypes but also opened the door for black transgender men. Following that success, he joined 911, Lone Star, where audiences saw a strong, brave, and masculine character who was not defined by his gender. His portrayal on screen changed public perception, not just of transgender people but also of modern masculinity. Today, Brian Michael Smith is not just a talented actor, but a symbol of resilience who dares to live authentically. His story is a powerful reminder that no matter how challenging the road, the light at the end belongs to those who never give up. 9. Alexandra Grey, from homelessness to a shining star. Born in 1991 in Chicago, Alexandra Grey had a childhood full of injustice and suffering, growing up in the foster care system and facing homelessness. But that was not all. She not only fought against her circumstances, but also against social stigmas when she began her difficult journey of transitioning. Alexandra had no place to turn, no one by her side, but her heart never gave up. Life's challenges relentlessly tore at her, but Alexandra found light in the darkness. She not only survived, but thrived. Her transition story is both a tragedy and a miracle. From lonely nights singing on the streets, Alexandra overcame all the pain to become a shining star, leaving her mark in famous shows like Empire and How to Get Away with Murder. She is not just a talented actress, but also a role model for the transgender community. Alexandra's journey is not only a victory over herself, but also a revolution against discrimination, opening up opportunities and hope for those left behind. 10. Michaela J. Rodriguez, the first trans woman to conquer the Golden Globe. Born in 1991 in New Jersey, Michaela J. Rodriguez, MJ, is not just a rising star in the entertainment industry, but also a symbol of victory for the transgender community. She became the first transgender woman to win a Golden Globe in 2022, an incredible achievement not just for her, but for the entertainment industry as a whole. MJ began her transition in the early 2010s, when she still struggled with internal battles about her gender identity. But when she decided to live authentically, MJ's life took a new turn. She rose from hardships, faced discrimination, lack of love, and support from her family to become a star with her iconic role as Blanca Evangelista in Pose. But she didn't stop there, as MJ also conquered the musical stage through her role as Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors. Her prominence is not only a personal victory, but a powerful message that transgender people deserve to be celebrated and have a rightful place in the entertainment industry. MJ paved the way for a generation of transgender artists, affirming their talents while pushing for more authentic representation across all fields. 11. Amaya Scott, the first trans model who shook Hollywood. Born in 1988 in New Orleans, Amaya Scott is not only a standout in the modeling industry but also a resilient warrior of the LGBTQ+ community. She made a name for herself with her iconic role in Star, becoming a symbol of beauty and power for transgender people. Amaya's transition began when she was just 17 years old, in the early 2000s, a courageous decision in a Southern American society full of prejudice. At that time, being transgender was not only difficult but also a life-threatening challenge for one's career. But Amaya didn't back down. She faced criticism, disdainful looks from society, and gradually made her way into the entertainment and modeling world. Even before gaining fame, she struggled with loneliness and mental abuse. Though the journey wasn't easy, Amaya became one of the first transgender stars recognized on the big screen, paving the way for many generations to come. Not only possessing captivating beauty, she is also a strong advocate, continuously using her voice to demand justice and representation for the transgender community in entertainment. 12. Gia Banks, the transgender ballroom mother who helped the community overcome struggles. Gia Banks, a dancer and social activist, has truly stirred the ballroom community and become an indispensable icon in the transgender world. Gia joined the ballroom community at the age of 19 and immediately became a star. But she was not only a dancer, Gia also served as a spiritual mother, a guiding light for other transgender individuals. She has tirelessly worked to provide legal and medical support for those who were once like her, people abandoned in society's shadows. Gia's transition was a long and painful journey. Born into a poor family with no support, Gia had to battle against prejudice and discrimination from society since her childhood. But it was the ballroom community that opened doors for her. Upon entering this world, Gia found not only her passion but also a place to affirm herself. During those years, she faced countless challenges, invisible pains no one understood, and sometimes had to rely on herself to overcome every obstacle. However, Gia's rise and her continuous contributions helped build a strong community. She became not just a star on the stage, but also a true mother, inspiring all those who wanted to find their voice and support. She became a symbol of strength and resilience, not just for herself, but for everyone fighting in the darkness. 13. Maya Taylor, from homelessness to the first trans actress to win a Gotham Award. Maya Taylor, born in 1991 in Texas, not only defied harsh stereotypes but also made history in the film industry. Before stepping into the entertainment world, she had to endure homelessness, doing whatever job she could to survive. But fate smiled upon Maya when she met Sean Baker, the director of Tangerine. That was the turning point that changed her life, turning Maya Taylor from an unknown transgender woman into the first transgender actress to win the prestigious Gotham Award. But Maya's journey was not easy. How could a transgender girl, born into a conservative family in Texas, live authentically with her gender identity when society around her was full of stigma? Maya had to fight not only with herself, but also with the world around her. Overcoming pain, loneliness, and cold nights without a home, she never gave up. Tangerine is proof of Maya's unbreakable strength. She proved that no matter who you are, no matter how many hardships you face, when given the opportunity, a transgender person can shine brightly and change an entire industry. 14. Munroe Bergdorf, the trans model who shocked the world with a bloody controversy. Munroe Bergdorf, born in 1987 in the UK, made history as the first transgender model to join L'Oréal UK's campaign. But behind her resounding success was a relentless battle with stigma, racism, and immense social pressure. Munroe began her transition as a university student and faced even greater turmoil after entering the modeling world. When Munroe spoke out against racism, L'Oréal severed its partnership with her, sparking an unprecedented controversy. However, this shock only amplified her voice. Munroe became not only a symbol for transgender rights, but also a fearless warrior against injustice. She continued to fight for online safety and gender equality, persistently using her voice to help the LGBTQ+ community and challenge prejudices. The more adversity she faced, the stronger she became, proving that even when trampled, Munroe Bergdorf remains a blazing light in the dark. 15. CeCe McDonald, from victimized prisoner to symbol of trans women's rights. CeCe McDonald, born in 1989, is not only an activist but also a living testament to resilience. After being sentenced for self-defense in a hate-driven attack, she became a powerful force in the fight against violence toward transgender women. In 2011, CeCe faced violence when she was attacked by a group of men while walking home. Despite being the victim, she was convicted of murder, even though she was simply defending herself. The legal system ignored her circumstances, a black transgender woman in a society rife with discrimination. During her time in prison, CeCe had to live under the constant threat of disdain from fellow inmates, but instead of breaking down, she transformed her pain into strength. CeCe's story became a major inspiration for the documentary Free CeCe, helping millions understand the injustices faced by the transgender community. CeCe fought not only for herself, but also as a pioneer, calling for changes in the legal system to protect transgender individuals. She became a symbol of resilience, a powerful voice demanding the right to live for those who are violated and discriminated against. As you can see, these names are no longer strangers to us, but few know about the painful and challenging transgender journeys they've had to endure. These black individuals not only faced stigma but also had to fight against prejudices every step of the way, from the entertainment industry to within the LGBTQ+ community. They are not just famous for their talents or beauty, but are symbols of resilience and struggle. Before this video, you may not have known their full story, but now that you do, what do you think of them? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to follow more inspiring secret stories like these.